In a world where leadership appears to favor the loudest voice in the room, one bow-tie-bound man exemplifies a different path. One where authenticity, introspection, and true self-discovery form the backbone of effective leadership. But for real, today's episode features my longtime friend Daniel Zinnel. We shared a summer of song and dance at Adventureland in Iowa and as housemates during an unforgettable summer of transformation. As a compassionate CEO modeling lifelong self-exploration, Daniel invites us to discover our 5 value pillars to serve our big vision for purpose and for life. Let's get into it. Welcome to Star Potential, a podcast where we explore the meaning of our existence while having a few laughs and sometimes tears through stories from the road of life. I'm your host, Julie Jo Hughes. As a stage performer, my life is quite literally about song and dance. I believe that life here on Earth is a playground for discovery, not a contest to be won. We ask questions together like, how do I evolve my consciousness? And how do you sing a passionate ballad when there's an old guy in the front row with his balls showing? True story. Stick around for these fun conversations. Dr. Daniel Zinnel is a facilitator, speaker, and learner with leadership values centered on authenticity, intentionality, humility, compassion, and joy. In 2020, he founded Growth and Joy, LLC, to foster proactive, practical, and purposeful leaders. He has trained over 20,000 individuals on topics like leadership, power and privilege, LGBTQ inclusion, and personal branding. Dr. Zinnel has over 15 years of nonprofit administration and leadership, including currently serving as the CEO of Proteus Inc. and previously as the executive director of One Iowa, formerly an adjunct faculty member at Des Moines University and Iowa Central Community College. Daniel developed One Iowa's LGBTQ Leadership Institute and co-created the 4Equity tool. Daniel holds a Doctor of Education in Leadership from Creighton University, an MA in Health Studies from the University of Alabama, a BA in Liberal Arts from Grandview University, and an AA from Iowa Central Community College. He has received formal training from the Perception Institute. Recognized as a leader, he received the 2019 Community Vision Award, 2018 Influencer of the Year, and the 2015 40 Under 40 Award. He serves as chair of the John Stoddard Cancer Center, chair of the Iowa Primary Care Association, a board member and health fellow at the Mid-Iowa Health Foundation, board member of Unity Point Health, Des Moines, and One Iowa Action, and is on a variety of other community committees and advisory councils. Hi, Daniel.
Hey, Julie.
Welcome to Star Potential.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I am really excited to have a dear friend here with me. So I know a side of you that maybe a lot of people in your professional world didn't really get to see because we met the summer that we were both singer-dancers at Adventureland.
That's right. That's right.
Lived
The best
together
summer
that
ever.
summer. It was the best summer ever. I still iterate. That was like the best summer of my life. And wow, we were going through big things back then. Both of us.
just a couple little life change things, but
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. I was planning a wedding.
Yes.
And you were also in a wedding that same day, so you didn't
That's
get
right.
to come to it.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, because your sister was getting married, and that was the summer that you came out.
That's right.
So yeah, we have done some growth together.
And still working on it.
Absolutely. Every day is a journey.
That's right.
Well, I can't wait to dig in and talk a little bit about your journey. So I love that you have this path of coming up, expressing yourself in many different ways. They used to call us the twins because we were so silly and feeding off of each other's energy. We would do silly things on stage and backstage.
Yes,
Maybe
indeed.
we should talk about the chipmunks. The
Oh my
chipmunks.
God. Sam the snail.
Sam the snail. Oh my
Nobody's going to understand these.
I know. That's what
Yes.
makes them so great. That's
That's
what
right.
makes you want to sit right here in the room with us because there are a few special souls that will get it. Josie, shout out to you.
Yes.
Trisha, Roderick,
Jeff.
and Jeff. Mm-hmm.
who just got married.
Who just got married.
I
That's
think
right.
so, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He did. Oh, yeah, such a great summer. We had so much fun. And yes, just learned so much about each other. I feel like there's this other little tidbit that a lot of people might not know about you because you do, like, you run marathons and you do all this active stuff, is that you have a third of a lung. Do you want to tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that?
Sure, sure. Yeah, so I was born with asthma and had just lung issues every year of my childhood and life, and was hospitalized at least annually for croup as a young kid.
Wow.
And so spent a lot of time in the healthcare industry, hospitals, clinics, had bronchitis often, and then it kind of turned into pneumonia, and that turned into recurrent pneumonia. So I would have pneumonia often.
Mm,
And unfortunately, or fortunately for my sake, I have a high pain tolerance, I guess. And so I was able
mm,
to function at a very high level while being very sick. And so I would have these spurts of pneumonia, but still feeling fine or fine enough to function, going to school, playing sports, and that sort of thing. But in the end, it kind of turned into a disease called bronchiectasis, which
mm.
essentially means my part of my lung was permanently damaged from that recurring pneumonia. So the doctors thought they were treating it, but it wasn't being treated, and it just stayed in my lung and then permanently damaged two-thirds of the right side of my lung. And so when I was 14, my parents got a second opinion at Mayo Clinic, and ultimately they
Whoa.
decided to remove the lung. Yeah, summer of 1999. So I'm giving you my age.
Mm.
But I think I played football like 8 weeks after the surgery.
Oh my
So this was
gosh.
like between seventh and eighth grade.
It's
And
crazy.
yeah, 8 weeks after I was playing football, which is wild.
Wow. You have such a varied skill set. Like, you're just one of those people that I feel like we could throw you into any ring and be like, figure it out, and you would.
I would at least do my best, which I think,
Yeah,
like growing up on a farm, I think is kind of what we had to do, right?
that's true. You're kind of forced into problem solving and
Yes,
stuff happens. And sometimes it is a life or death situation and you got to
that's
figure it
right.
out.
That's right.
Which brings us to another commonality we have, which is showing sheep.
Yes.
I'm digging up all these gems that people that follow the two of us will be like, what? What? Who are these people? What are you talking about?
I feel like some people probably know this because there's always these icebreakers where like share two facts about you or stuff that nobody
Ah,
would ever know. So some people might have heard these things possibly,
yes.
but not in the depth that we're gonna go into probably.
Right. Yeah, I love I love the sheep showing connection because you don't meet a lot of other sheep showers.
I agree. I feel like there's more hog and cattle showers
Mm-hmm.
than sheep.
Definitely.
I mean, they are a lot of work, but
Yeah, they are. It's true.
I was always envious of the hog showers who just had to wash them the day of and then go into the ring with them.
Oh, that's so true. And hogs bring it around full circle. I'm coming back to Iowa this year for Bacon
Right?
Fest.
That's right. That's right.
That's gonna be fun. Okay, so you, from a young age, you already have these kind of adversities that you're
Hmm.
learning to overcome. And I feel like it's a kind of telling part of your journey that you
Hmm.
were already kind of building these skills from a young age. I've got pain, but I'm going to carry it and not, suffer from it. You were like
Yeah.
feeling the pain, but just living with it. And
Yeah.
then you still wanted to play sports. And so now you've got this compromised health situation, but you're going to do it anyway. And I feel like there's probably so many parallels that we can see then that as the journey of your life continued, I'm so curious and I'm hoping that you can give our listeners a little bit of insight into what the journey was like for you when you started realizing I have something big to kind of share about myself in order to step into my full authenticity and truth
Hmm.
and feel like I can be who I am. And I'm not sure how that's going to be received. I don't know if that's going to sever
Hmm.
relationships. Do I have the bravery? Do I have the resilience to step into something that could be potentially painful in order to kind of receive this freedom on the other side? And if you could tell us a little bit about that journey, or if there's something you could go back from where you stand now and kind of talk to your younger self, either something you're proud of that you did, or something that you wish you would have had the insight about. Just share with us a little bit about walking through that.
Mm. Well, I grew up in Northwest Iowa, which, if anybody is familiar with it, is very conservative. And if you're not, if you know or have heard of former Congressman Steve King, you know kind of the
Mm,
environment politically and religiously that was just expounded upon me and everyone in that area. And I think, I mean, you probably had a similar type of environment in Southern Iowa as well, but I think Northwest Iowa has a particular just feeling in general compared to other parts of the state. And so grew up going to church every Sunday,
mm,
if not multiple times a week for other activities and the like, and really didn't have, to me, a positive role model or positive representation of somebody in my town that I could look up to, or really media wise as well. I mean, until probably the late 90s, early 2000s was when we finally saw really positive portrayals of the LGBTQ community.
hmm
And before that, it was always these caricatures or these very negative stereotypes that people were afraid of and scared of. And so all of these things, from societal norms to just familial norms that are being created by societal norms, but
hmm
also church and community members, was thrown at me. And I think life is hard in general for any child navigating difference and feeling like they're the other in any situations. But all of those things, I think, really contributed to the suppression of who I was and what I was feeling. And so I remember vividly in third grade feeling those feelings of attraction toward guys. And that was at least the first time I'd kind of recognized it internally.
hmm
Potentially it happened before then, but for so many kids, it happens at various ages. And through research, we know that it can happen relatively young. And so third grade was the most vivid for me. And so really had to suppress those feelings and emotions because of what I saw others and how others were treated.
hmm
And I would always get made fun of because of my voice or talking high pitched or being charismatic or theatrical. And
mm
so I had to really change how I talked and how I behaved or reacted, and would notice at times, depending on the setting, I would allow myself to be more free or open, but it was pretty rare, I would say, because of some of the backlash I felt from how people treated me or making fun of me. So if
That
I
was
was
just
gay, called gay, yeah,
okay. I was going to ask, and that's that you felt like those were almost like judgments of who you are and your character. You weren't even saying like
correct.
I'm homosexual. Like,
Correct.
okay.
Correct. It was just how I was reacting and responding.
hmm
So, like singing and dancing,
hmm
those were things that I couldn't necessarily fully do freely, really until college, I think. I mean, we
hmm
had like a little show choir in high school, but it was a very limited activity that really all the people who were in choir did,
hmm
because we had to, but there wasn't much other activity in theater. We didn't have a theater department or anything like that until
hmm
college. And so, yeah, I think it was challenging, but I think so many of us LGBTQ folks devote our energy and focus onto something else. And so, because I didn't want the attention on me to be about the gay Daniel, I wanted to be the best at everything, to prove them
mm
wrong and to focus their attention on all these good things that I can do. And so that's really, I think, why I was able to overcome so much physically, because I wanted to be the best in sports. I wanted to be
Wow.
a straight A student. I wanted to be the best trombone player in our band,
Mm.
because I was, I think, overcompensating for what I felt like people, like I was trying to people please, right? Like
Right.
I think there's
Right.
so much in people pleasing that impacts our lives always, and something that I'm always trying to kind of decompartmentalize and understand how I'm doing that even today and
hmm
trying to overcome that. But yeah, I really think I focused on being the best at everything I could be so that you didn't have to think of me as gay Daniel, but Daniel who's good at track, who's a good basketball player, who's good in
Right.
school, those sorts of things. And so going to college, I think going to college was the best thing that happened to me just personally for growth because growing up in small town Iowa, your worldview is so small. And I would definitely dream, but you can't really dream for the things that you can't see or imagine, right? And so
Absolutely.
going to college and experiencing life through the eyes of others who have a much different lived experience than me, because I mean, in Pomeroy, Iowa, at the time, there was no people of color in our school, no people who had different lived experience than that kind of small town agricultural
Mm-hmm.
background. And so being able to be exposed, which was incredible. And I think getting around others who were out allowed me to see that there could be an opportunity to do that as well. And so I think the summer of Adventureland was the time that I just felt like I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
act. I think a lot of us become actors because we've done that our whole lives, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so there's this outlet for us to do it in a way where we're getting applause for it. But I couldn't do it anymore. And I think I had come to the terms where I was willing to risk everything, including my family, in order to allow myself to be more who I was openly. And so I think I credit coming out to the risk taking in me
Mm-hmm.
and being willing to go for things when maybe others wouldn't, because I have risked maybe the most important thing in my life at the time, which was what I thought I was going to lose in my family. And I credit that experience to helping me reimagine what life can be like for me even now and what I want to accomplish going forward.
Wow. So much there. I had never thought about that correlation before, that you get so good at pretending to be something else, whatever
Hmm.
you need to be for like survival,
Yeah.
to be accepted as part of the group and yeah, not be eaten alive socially.
Yeah.
That if you can find a way to like, oh, I'm already good at this, let me now be applauded for it. That's a really beautiful insight. And then the idea of risk taking is so beautiful because it is true that the higher the risk, you have both the higher potentiality of reward and
Hmm.
also of a bigger failure, right? Like it
Yeah.
could go the other way.
Yeah.
You could lose everything, so to speak. But at that time, you knew that it was like you were up against a wall of it didn't even feel like a choice anymore. It was like
Yeah.
I can't, how do you live your life pretending to be some version of you that is socially accepted? Like, how do you even, how can you dream from that
Hmm.
place, right?
Hmm.
It's just like, how could you expect anything to really, it might be able to grow, but can it thrive if
Mm.
it's not, if it doesn't, it would be like putting a seedling in a tiny little pot. And then I've done this many times. I forget to transplant
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And so it's contained to this little spot and eventually it just dies because it's like,
Yeah.
if you're not going to let me
It's outgrown.
expand,
Yeah.
I can't, like I've outgrown this container and I could no longer thrive because you didn't give me room to be what I was always meant to be.
Mm. So true.
Huh. Never thought of that analogy before.
Mm.
But I talk about plants a lot. I'm starting to
I love
find.
plants.
You got to tell me about some of your favorites because
Okay.
I'm trying to invite more plants into my space
Mm.
and I have kind of a black thumb. So,
Okay.
but I do sing and talk to them, and it helps.
That does help, I think. Yes.
Yes, yes, they like that. So then, as you started to develop yourself, and then I feel like you quickly discovered that you had a way of leading others. And because you are a risk taker, and because you weren't afraid to boldly go where others haven't
Mm.
gone, you have this natural ability that people want to follow that and go like, wow, his energy is incredible. He is expanding and growing, and I want to come along for that ride. So another question I would have for you is for someone who's kind of feeling maybe the tugs of leadership,
Hmm.
but you're not really sure, or you don't feel like, oh, maybe I'm not qualified to be a leader. What could you say to someone like that, or what did you walk through as you became to be more and more a leader for others?
I think the more I have learned about myself, the better leader I become.
Mm.
So I tell folks, and I do a lot of trainings on like leadership development, but I always start with the introspective look on ourselves. We have to understand and know ourselves the best and the most before we can truly lead others. And so there's a lot of internal work that I think a lot of us need to do. And one of the things that I encourage folks to focus on, like I have my 5 personal leadership values. And so really creating, and they can evolve and change, but I think it's important to have those values instilled in us. And I encourage people to print them, put them on a place where they can look all the time, because those are the types of things that when we're thinking about them, even subconsciously, it'll come through our behaviors and interactions with others. So one of mine is compassion. And I think that has served me well in working with others. I don't necessarily feel like I'm like leading them. I feel like we're collectively working together to
Mm.
accomplish a common goal
Mhm.
within our organization toward achieving our mission and vision. And so I think it's really important to understand ourselves, create those values, and really understand the personal brand that we're wanting to exude as well, which brand is not all about image. I think that's part of it. And so there was some internal work that I did, which is how the bow tie thing became a thing for me
Mhm.
a few years ago. When I like for every day professionally for like 5 years, I wore a bow tie, and it was kind of this way to set myself apart. But it was almost like a conversation starter. And then once they talked to me, they could understand my values, what type of leader I was, or trying to be. But I think personal brand is a big piece of developing ourselves as a leader. And then another piece that I think is important is understanding what kind of leader we want to be. So there's many assessments out there, there's different types, but I really think of myself as an authentic leader with transformative potential. So I want to be my authentic self always. And that's, I feel like something that I'm always trying to shoot for. I don't know if I'm always getting there, because I feel like there's always opportunity for us to better understand ourselves in order to be even more authentic. But through my authenticity, I can create these transformative opportunities to help an organization move and grow in my own way.
Mm. There's something really beautiful in there that I think what you're saying here, in other words, is that no matter how many organizations you work with, no matter how much internal work you've done, you continue to begin each day with a beginner's mindset. And
That's right.
you're always open to learning new things. You're constantly doing more self-work. And in that, you are able to better serve others.
That's right. I think that internal and external curiosity. So, like getting
Mm.
back to our kid like self and really looking through that lens of asking a lot of questions and listening, which I think is something that I'm naturally, I feel like, pretty good at, but it's something that I'm intentional about asking a lot of questions and listening so that I can better understand the other person's needs and in order to help the organization or help whatever challenge we're going through, help us get through that.
Mm. And the intention is the key word there. I think that we have lots of things that we aspire to be better
Hmm.
at. For instance, listening was not really a gold star for me. Um,
Maybe
I
that's why we
just
got along so well.
probably I'm like a dog that sees a squirrel. Um, and sometimes I can be like that in conversation. But somewhere along the way, the last 5 years or so, that was something I really had a desire to improve.
Hmm.
Some of the friendships that I really enjoyed the most, I kind of asked myself, like, what is it about that friend that
Hmm.
makes me feel so good when I'm with them? And it's
Hmm.
that they were such a good listener.
Hmm.
And so I thought, well, how can I be a better listener? Because I didn't feel like I was a good listener. And instead of just It's like when you say, I'm not good at remembering names. I had to stop saying that and instead say, I'm working on getting better at remembering
Yes.
people's names.
Yes. Reframing it. Yes.
Absolutely. So the intentionality becomes the thing that takes you from where you are today to
Hmm.
maybe where you are in 2 months or 2 years.
That's right. I love that.
Yeah. Okay. Can you tell us, how did you arrive at these pillars that you have? Like, how could one go about determining what their core values
Hmm.
are?
There's a really fun activity that I work with individuals going through. So if you just Google like leadership traits or leadership values,
Uh-huh.
there's oftentimes like a list of 200 plus adjectives that you can look through. And so I encourage folks, print off that piece of paper, go through all of the words, circle the ones that you really resonate with, any and all. Sometimes people will circle 175, some people will circle five, but then I have them narrow it down. So they're like narrowing it down to your top five. If you have more, that's fine. If you have less, that's fine. But in general, narrowing it down to that top five and doing like a yearly check-in with yourself on, do these
Mm,
still fit who I am and what I'm trying to exude, or with the ethos that I'm really trying to create as part of my personal leadership brand, but really focus on those five. And like during the pandemic, I really had to focus on one of my values, I feel like even more so, which is joy,
mm.
because of what was going on in the world. And so that's what really sparked. I did a daily dose of joy post on social media,
I
something that
remember.
brought me joy every day for a year. And it was really transformational for me. And I got a lot of great positive feedback. And it was really what kind of sparked opening up my side business, which is called Growth and Joy, which is all about helping empower companies, individuals in developing their own personal leadership, doing trainings, capacity building, that sort of thing. And so it really was transformative for me in general.
That's so beautiful. So by establishing kind of a spinoff from a gratitude practice for
Yes,
yourself,
yes,
you ended up birthing an entire business.
yes.
And I didn't even know that until I was like, send me your bio, friend. And I was like, growth and joy, what is this? And so then I started going to your website and I was like, I want to sign up. Wait, I'm not leading an organization. Okay, I
You
gotta
don't have to
start an organization.
be.
Okay, good to know. Good. Then sign me up. But throw me in, coach.
Okay.
Because part of the development of this podcast was realizing that I wore that label performer like a badge of
Mm,
honor. I was so
yeah.
proud of that label. I am making a living performing. And then somewhere along the way, I was like, why does this feel like it's not fulfilling me like it used to? It's
Mm,
just something is calling me to do something more meaningful. And
mm,
it's not that I don't still enjoy the work that I do, but something was telling me, like, you have a wealth of uniqueness, as we all do, that if you would really tap into that, you could really serve the collective in a more deep and meaningful way. And
mm.
as a Scorpio, like, deep and meaningful is very important to us. Like, surface level is fun. Like, I love to laugh at really ridiculous, like, 12-year-old boy humor,
Yes.
as you
Sam the
know.
snail.
Yeah, Sam the snail. But then there's also this part where, like, in the same sentence, I want to talk about the meaning of life.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what is that? Like, what am I being called to do? And there's this desire of, I think I want to help people, but then I have this pendulum swinging back and forth of like,
Mm,
yeah, I'm going to help people. Who are you to help anyone? You're not an expert on anything. Well, but
mm.
I've helped people with this. Why would anyone want to come to you for help on that? They could hire someone who's an expert. Well, maybe I should just share from where I am today. Well, you've got a long ways to go and you better get a bunch of certifications before you can help anyone. And it's just like, I
Imposter syndrome.
total imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And so as I was looking at your website for growth and joy, I was like, yes, that's what it's all about. Like, this personal journey that I've been going on of the past 2 years, really
Mm,
diving inward as deeply as I could and understanding the nature of myself. Then I began to understand the nature of reality around me and the nature of all the relationships in my world. And seeing the patterns and
Mm,
going, oh, wow. And as you said, it all comes back to this personal work. And now, for the first time, I'm really feeling I always felt I'm not a teacher. I'm a performer, you know? And
mm,
yes, I can do that very well, but in this call to do something deep and meaningful through this inner work is where I discovered I don't think it's about certifications and external acquirements. It's really about knowing yourself fully,
mhm,
and when you're walking through that, that's actually the light that others are drawn to. And then when you talked about, I don't really consider myself leading them. It's like a collaborative that we're doing
mhm,
together. It's just such a poignant point there that it's really not about I'm here and I want to help people that are here. It's
mm.
really about let's link arms and
Yeah.
let's walk through this stuff together, adding our own unique specialties to the mix.
So true. I think there's this stereotype of what I think a good leader looks like and is, which is that like very charismatic, very boisterous, like you're going to listen to me, we're going to do this type of
Mm-hmm.
feel to it. And I think through time, and especially recently, we're seeing that leadership can look many different ways, and different types of leaders can have great success as well. And so there's a really great book. I think it's Gallup Strength Finder. It comes with, when you
Oh
do
yeah.
Gallup Strength Finder, it comes with this book that kind of has case studies on different types of leaders who've leaned into their strengths,
Mm.
who have had significant success. And so I think it's all about leaning into what you're good at, who you are, and you're going to find success by doing it that way, not trying to embody or even act like what we stereotypically think of a good leader.
Totally. There's so much value in that. So play in the areas where you naturally excel, the areas
Yes.
that naturally light you up. And from that are kind of birthed these opportunities or sometimes even full side businesses.
Yes.
Amazing. We have touched on so many fun areas of leadership. So before we go into these fun rapid fire questions, I
Mm,
just want to ask you, I heard you speak on another interview about how you're a very future thinking. You're kind of a forward thinking CEO and leader. So walk us through, do you have some sort of like a grounding practice that you do for yourself that helps you come back to the present moment?
mm. That's a great question. And it's something that I've been very intentional about working on, of just being much more present. I think the daily dose of joy was helpful in that because it kind of grounded me in what did I do today, or helping me look for the joy throughout the day rather than like trying to expect or create these joyful experiences.
Mm.
And so I think that's something that I've still held on to, is looking for joy every day. So if I don't have a belly laugh every day, there's something wrong. You
Wow, I
know,
love that.
like if we're not like belly laughing, there's something wrong. So trying to find that joy, and belly laugh is one example, but I also will sometimes go down these like YouTube rabbit holes of, I really love emotional auditions, like on UK, The Voice,
Voice.
UK. I
Uh-huh.
love like anything outside of the United States.
Yeah.
Reality vocal competitions, or competitions in general, they're just so much better. I don't know why. But like if I don't cry like on a weekly basis too, I feel like there's something going on. And so throughout the day, I'll try to like plant my feet
Mhm.
and really feel the ground.
So physically, right? That's not a
Physically, yeah,
metaphor. Uh-huh.
physically, not a metaphor. Physically
Mhm.
ground, like plant my feet, and maybe not every day, but I'll try to do that when I'm just feeling like, I need to come back to what's going on right now and what's right in front of me. And so those are just little things that I have tried to do. I think I'm getting better at, but there's always work to do.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I think that's why you are such a powerful leader because you're the first one to say, oh, I'm walking through this. I'm learning every day. It's not like I have it
Yeah.
all figured out. And those of us who even know you well and love you are like, man, he's got it all figured out.
Not even close to figuring it out, but we'll figure it out together.
Absolutely. I love that attitude. Well, if you could leave our listeners with a final bit of thought or advice before we go into these rapid fire questions to get to know you a little bit. Is there anything that you would just leave with us as kind of your overarching message for people looking to step more into the truth of who they are,
Mm,
how to discover how they could best serve others?
mm. I'll give one example, and this is going back to encouraging us to always look back at our own history as well. So we've talked about future, being present, but I think it's also important to do a lot of reflective work. And
Mm.
I really didn't do a lot of reflective work in relation to my family's financial situation until doing this type of work. And so my family grew up going to WIC clinics, which is the women, infant, children clinics,
Hmm.
and had food stamps. I can still remember the smell of food stamps because they had such a
Wow.
distinctive smell. And I credit those types of public assistance programs to allowing me to be in this role today, right?
Wow.
Like without public assistance programs like that, who knows where I would be? Who knows if I would have had the nutrition that I needed in order to be successful in school and do well in
Mm.
school and thrive. And so it's incredible to have this full circle moment where we're now in my current role as CEO of Proteus, providing those same types of assistance work that is transformative to farm workers across the Midwest, where we are helping them reimagine their own dreams and providing them with access to going to college and thinking about how they can better support themselves and their families. And so it's, I think, important for us to be present, yes, think about the future, yes, but also be reflective and try and make those connections to what maybe drew us to this work or this internal kind of pull that we're feeling to do something more meaningful, like you are. So there oftentimes is some sort of connection there. And I think it's important to do that historical reflective work.
Absolutely. And I would also add that that's where we discover our limiting beliefs and blocks a lot of times, right?
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Doing that shadow work, and you discover, oh, this was one I had this week. When I
Yeah.
talk about money, I have some kind of a trauma response because
Mm,
I remember that whenever my parents were discussing money, the energy in the house was not pleasant.
yes.
And so I learned to avoid talking about money. But
Mm.
it took me until I was today years old to reach that realization. Like, oh, that's why when
Mm,
my husband tries to talk to me about what was this charge, and I just want to make sure that's not fraud,
mm.
why I go into like, I don't
Yeah.
know. And I
Yeah.
didn't even do anything wrong.
Fight or
And I'm like,
flight. Yeah.
why am I trembling?
Mm,
Oh, there's some kind of a belief that I have there that talking about money is unsafe or
yeah.
scary.
Yes.
And so once we shine the light on that, then it's not as scary anymore.
Yeah.
Because next time those tremors start, I see it coming. Oh,
Mm,
I know you.
yes.
And I've felt
Yes.
this before, and it's okay. I acknowledge and I understand that you are fearful from what you've been through, but we're not going to be fearful anymore.
Yes. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I got this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, Daniel, let's go into some fun
All
questions.
right.
As a
I'm
kid,
ready.
here we go. As a kid, what did you always want to be when you grew up?
A professor in kindergarten. I still have my photo. I'm in a blue cardigan with a bow tie and glasses.
I've
Mr.
seen
Rogers
that
was,
photo.
yes, Mr. Rogers was my hero, but I wanted to
Mm,
be a professor. I don't even know where that came from, but
that is so interesting. It's almost like you liked the outfit.
I think so.
Mhm.
I still love a good cardigan
And a bow tie.
and a bow tie.
Which season of the year makes you feel most alive?
I think all because I'm trying to be more present. But if I
Mm,
would have to choose one, it'd have to be summer, just because in Iowa, there's so much more opportunity to do different things, get outside more, different things to do. I love a good patio, brunch, or happy hour. And
mm.
so summer is just because there's so many other things we can do. Winter, it's challenging. I can get outside, but it's just not as fun.
Right. And even the amount of daylight hours is totally
That's
different.
right. That's right.
Here's a fun one for you. If you
Mhm.
had a theme song for every time you made an entrance, what would it be?
This might be very cliche and very gay, but I'm Coming Out by Diana Ross.
I mean, you can't help but start,
You can't help but,
like,
yes,
you gotta move your shoulders when you hear that.
from the start. Yeah.
It's true. Honey. It's so true. Finish this sentence. When I'm 80, I'll be.
Hopefully alive, but I think
I expected more from you.
I when I'm 80, hopefully I will be living abroad. I have a bucket list item of living abroad at some point, and I feel like splitting time between Iowa and somewhere else sounds very intriguing. And as someone who was always looking to learn and grow, I feel like immersing myself in a different country would allow that to still happen at age 80.
I love that. And man, the opportunities for learning and growth while living in another country.
Yes. Yes.
Favorite dessert?
I feel like right now it's chocolate pecan pie.
Mm.
Have you ever had it?
I have had pecan pie. I don't think I've had chocolate pecan.
It's gonna change your life.
Okay. And how do you
I
say pecan?
I say pecan.
Pecan. I think that's what I say too.
Pecan. I
Pecan.
think
Yeah.
South they say pecan.
Pecan.
I say pecan, I think.
I think that's what I say too.
Yeah. But I love all things chocolate and sweet and pies, tiramisu,
Me
Although
too.
it's not to go off on a tangent, but we also like Di Serono on the rocks if we're not wanting to like
Oh.
eat our dessert but have a nice little cocktail. It's
Mm.
lovely, Di Serono.
I should remember that sometimes, after a show, someone wants to buy me a drink, and I'm like, ugh, I'm kind of out of the mood now. I just want
Mm,
a piece of chocolate. I should get
yes,
some Disaronno on the rocks.
so good.
What is a book you would recommend for everyone to read?
I have three if you're okay with that.
Yes, please.
I love the Book of Joy, written
Okay.
by Archbishop Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama. I also love Giovanni's Room, which is written by James Baldwin. I read that in one sitting.
Oh,
It was
wow.
that good. And then a recent book that I absolutely love that is getting all of the acclaim that it deserves is called James by Percival Everett.
My
And it's going to be
gosh.
turned into a movie.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I have not read any of the three of those, so I will definitely dive in. Thank
Please
you.
do. Yes, we'll have to talk about it.
Yes, absolutely. I just finished The Big Leap, and I feel like
Okay.
as a person in leadership, you're probably familiar with that one.
I'm familiar, but I've not read it, so I'll have to
Okay,
check it
you
out.
should. Like I read the
Yeah.
description and I was like, I think I got those topics. And then as I dove in, I was like,
Mm,
oh, I had all these aha moments.
nice. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
check it out. The Big Leap.
Yeah. Yes. Well, Daniel, if our listeners would like to get in touch with you, find out more about the work that you do, tell us where we can find you.
You can go to both proteusinc.net to find more about the work that we do at Produce serving farm workers or growthandjoy.com and better understand the work that I'm doing on the leadership development side of my business.
I love it. Well, I can't thank you enough for giving us your time today and your heart and just being the same authentic you that performed with me at Adventureland all those years ago. I love that you're the same person, but you've had this immense, I don't know if that's the word I'm looking
Hmm.
for. You've had an incredible spurt of growth, expansion, and
Hmm.
learning since that time. It's been beautiful to witness your journey. And also, you're the same Daniel that I always knew. I love
Thank,
that it's both.
thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me
Yeah.
on.
That was so much fun for me. I hope that you enjoyed that conversation with Daniel as much as I did. We certainly enjoy catching up anytime that we can and are always learning from each other. And I hope that you'll do the same with the people that light you up in your life as well. Let's go over some of the key takeaways from our conversation together today. 1. It is often our adversities and challenges that help us break through to our truth. When we realize that a facade is no longer sustainable, we embrace the risks of authenticity and gain true liberation. 2. We must remain curious and always be open to learning in order to truly be grounded in the present. 3. Knowing yourself and your personal values is essential to leading others with compassion. We want to revisit our values often to stay in alignment and also to reassess as we evolve. 4. Reflect on your personal history to reveal the roots of your passions and to inform your awareness of any limiting beliefs. 5. Daniel exemplifies how true leadership arises from understanding oneself and embracing vulnerabilities. 6. Authenticity isn't a fixed trait, but a journey of constant exploration and growth. And 7. Look for joy every day, and you will find it. Thanks again for joining us here on Star Potential. Make sure you stay tuned for future episodes. Let me know what kinds of topics you would like to hear covered or any ideas for guests that you might like to hear from. Please join us on Facebook in our community, the Star Potential Galaxy. You can search for us there. I'd love to hear from you directly on Instagram as well at @TheJulieJo. See you next time. Thank you for tuning into Star Potential with Julie Jo Hughes. If this episode resonates with you, I invite you to take 2 seconds, scroll down and click 5 stars on the rating. It's a fast and easy way to help the show gain exposure and momentum. If you're loving the show, I invite you to leave a quick review about what you love. Reviews are like gold to podcasters. And to show my gratitude, you'll be entered to win my monthly giveaway when you send me a screenshot of your review. I also made you a gift. It's a 9-minute, simple gratitude meditation with singing to help you practice mindfulness. Just visit me on Instagram at @TheJulieJo or find the link in the show notes. Thank you for your love and support. Until next time, keep shining your light. And that's a wrap.